I'm an empath and life be lifing. And you're probably the first person who asked me that. So one thing I don't do is kick people when they're down. And I think this was a tough year for her.
So, starting off, you decided to expand your practice this
Yes.
season, right?
Yes.
And you're filming. What was the decision that brought you to the idea that this is the exact moment I need to expand?
Well, I've actually been quietly doing it for the past couple of years. We've been cash flowing this expansion. We purchased a building in 2023, and actually, interestingly enough, Audra from a few seasons ago was our closing attorney. And so the thing we did differently though is we tried to do it from we self-financed, we cash flowed it. And so I kind of had to take away from some of the other things that I wanted in my life to invest in myself. Because again, I was thinking legacy building, have to do something that is going to be sustainable, right? Generations to come. Again, if I like my kids and they're going to get it, but if not, then, I'm gonna leave it to charity or something like that. Leave it to my colleges and my med school. But I digress. But it was just time, right? I mean, we work so hard. I work probably on average about 60 to 80 hours a week, and I do it for other people, right? I do it for not always for myself. And I felt like it was also important to believe in myself. My parents sacrificed very, very hard in order to make sure that I knew what my value was. But it took me 49 years to kind of believe it for myself enough to say, you know what, let me go ahead and do this. Let me hang up this shingle, buy this land, and know that this is actually a place that if I build it, they will come.
Well,
So we all
congratulations.
have self-doubt. That's the thing. I think we all have self-doubt. We all deal with imposter syndrome and always wonder is like, am I enough or is it going to work out? And you know what? Ultimately, you just have to say, you know what? Why not? Why not you? Why would someone else be successful and be able to do it and you can't? So yeah. So
Again, big congratulations on that because that is not a small undertaking. So, along those lines, right, you and Dr. Heavenly have had a roller coaster relationship, up and down, so
yes,
to speak. What
yes.
was the moment or what was the thing that made you decide, you know what, this friendship is worth salvaging and seeing, exploring what's there and if it can be pulled back together?
Well, believe it or not, I'm an empath and life be lifing. And you're probably the first person who asked me that. So one thing I don't do is kick people when they're down. And I think this was a tough year for her, right? And she's gone through some pivotal emotional journeys. And one thing about this group is that we can put aside petty differences for when somebody needs, support. And I think this year in particular, she needs a little bit of support. And so I think the easier thing would have been to been like, aha, I told you so, or just wait because everybody's turn comes around. Like you can stand in judgment of other people, but when it's your turn, then you're gonna need a friend. And so that was one of the, I say for me, the moments that I had to kind of self-reflect and say, who am I really? Like what kind of core values do I have? And if I am if I've been in a place of weakness and vulnerability, that is when I kind of need somebody to kind of put aside what, they're going through. Because I'll say this year has been good for me. Like because of what you just said, like I actually am kind of on the other side of going through it. Now life started life and again, but I know that God shows people grace when you show grace to other people. And so that's what kind of happened. And I just knew she kind of needed it. She needed a friend.
The facts as far as grace and standing up. So you brought up the friend group. Is there
Yeah.
anything that you were going to do differently as far as approaching friendships with this friend group? Because it loves hard, but there's petty and messy, and we know
Oh,
that as an audience. But for you, is there any way that you approach friendships differently going in?
I think so. I think I try to find the commonality and I try really hard not to get stuck, right? In this friend group, you will see that sometimes for years and years, and I've done it before. Me and Toya were stuck for several years, but Toya is probably one of the friends that I value the most in this group. But had we not been able to get to the other side, then it would have been for me a wasted opportunity because I get a lot from my friendship with Toya. And I think that's how I approach the friend group more than I do. I think some of the other ladies will like to hold on to the petty mess, and you're just like, man, get out of your own way. Because then you find too that you're a part of the problem, right? Because then you move on and you see that there's beauty on this other side. I mean, I say over and over again, I'm almost 50 years old. And if I'm still holding on to some anger from when I was like 40, then good Lord, how much progression have I made, right? And how many blessings are going to come my way? But in this friend group, sometimes we can do that. Sometimes we can get caught up in our own stuff and we'll forget that, man, when you were mad, you started doing stuff to people too. And in this group, we are going through a lot personally, professionally, right? Emotionally. And then even in our friend groups, in friendships, we will hurt each other and we will not even realize that we're hurting one another. So, yeah, so we just had to, I think sometimes, you take out what's going on at home on your friends. And I think the more and more you watch the show, because we don't always know what's going on at home, because people don't always tell you. You'll watch the show and you'll kind of have empathy for someone to see what they're going through at home. And then you're like, man, why won't they just tell their friend what's happening? And maybe that'll open up a possibility of them moving forward. But we don't do that really well. We don't always talk about what's really on our heart.
So for you and Toya specifically, how did you become unstuck? Just taking that approach, or was there something that you specifically did in taking steps to make sure that that was something that you were comfortable with?
Another great question. So I think time, right? One thing that happens in this group is we start fixating on other people's problems and becomes pressure from other people. It's like, y'all need to sit down and talk. Y'all need to work it out. But what organically happened is that we were able to kind of spend time together. Our kids are the same age and then we would see each other out and about like at a soccer game or something like that. And we find that, man, it's like this is stupid. Like we may as well just roll together. We at the same places. We have the same friends. And that's what happened. Like we just kind of let it organically be. And the stuff we couldn't even remember at one point, like what we fell out about. Now I take it back. Toya, Toya's an Aries. She remember everything. You'd be like, bitch, where'd that come from? That was like 10 years ago. But yeah, but that's what happened. Like we just like let life move forward, right? And we just didn't get fixated on something that doesn't matter anymore.
So the teaser shows your birthday party as a moment.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about the inspiration for the theme and what you wanted your birthday to represent for you this year.
Well, I'm a 70s baby. And so growing up, yep, you get it, you get it. And Players Ball, like it was just always just a lot of campy fun, right? I mean, yes, I'll say I kind of rebranded the term players because I feel like all of us now as professionals, like we're major players in the community, right? I have an endowment in my college and my medical school, and we are just like we are the ones who are moving the community forward, right? With our being major players. And so I wanted to kind of rebrand that term and also just get dressed up and actually have a party that is not just everybody just kind of standing around looking at each other, wearing all black or all white for no reason whatsoever, right? So I love a theme. I mean, people always tease me about being very into themes, right? If you tell me we're going to a pool party, I'm wearing my swimming suit and period. Like I believe what we're saying. So I also wanted to make sure that from a standpoint of people getting excited about the party, they all felt invested. And so yeah, so that was hopefully visually is going to come across what I was thinking. And I just wanted something big and grand. And I didn't want it just to be a little get together. I wanted it to be a full out ball. And I think I accomplished that feat. So
So we will see. We're going to let you know as an audience.
yeah. And
So
I even had live entertainment. So I think you guys will be very shocked to how hard I went all in. I went hard for this party.
it's a moment. Okay. So managing marriage, your practice, expansion, and filming, that's a lot. What did you learn about Contessa through this process? Not Dr. Contessa, but Contessa.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a work in progress, right? I always say perfection is a lie and transparency is freedom. And the more and more I talk about my struggles, the more I can open up other people who've been through what I'm going through to like tell me, like, look, let me just cut you to the front of the line. Like, you ain't got to go through this because I did it. But I've learned that I really do need the help and support of my friends, right, to navigate these things. We were not built to be in this world and navigate it alone. But what we can do is sometimes feel isolated in what we're going through. And the more and more I talk about my struggles, I think the more support and lighter I feel. Gone through it all from anxiety to depression to like seriously just like feeling like just super struggling and not feeling like I could balance and burnt out and all the things. But I know that with help, I can get through anything. And it's always a better day on the other side.
Well, along those lines, we see you ask for help from Dr. Scott. What was that experience like for you?
Well, that seed, you're gonna see okay, so if you use that as a seed, you're gonna be like, what the hell happened then? Because this season it looks different. Okay. So I'm not gonna tell you, I'm not gonna have any spoilers, but I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought I was capable of, right? Good Lord, I feel like God put a lot on me this year. But I still look good. I survived. I made it. And sometimes you can think that it's your partner that can support you through it, but sometimes just God saying you got to dig deeper and you got to work harder. Not forever, but for this season in our life, I mean, it's been a journey. So again, I'm not gonna spoil it, but um, I also had to learn, that insanity is expecting the same thing, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You, whoever you married is going to be that person. Like, right? Don't ever marry somebody and be like, I'm going to change him or he's going to do this and I want him to. No, no, whoever he was is who he's going to be. Right? So, I was expecting some things and it just ain't going to happen. He's going to be who he is. Same guy, same dude I met 25 years ago is going to be the same dude he is today. I think women evolve a lot, but I think men are pretty much the same people they are, probably since they was born. I don't know. We gotta ask his mom.
Have you learned anything about your marriage through this process and being vulnerable and having that aspect show?
Yes. Yes. Again, like you sometimes have to find your own bliss, right? You can't look outside. And some things that you can do for yourself, just do it for yourself. But I had to stop expecting so much. I know that may sound sad, but I think it's actually some when I talk to people who've been married for a long time, like they'll say, "Girl, I did this for myself." Like, I'm not waiting for, I'm gonna go to the mall and get that for me. Or I'm gonna buy that for myself. I'm gonna take myself on that trip. But that's what I found that I am worthy of some splurges and doing some things for myself. And it even actually from a side of me learning kind of what I needed to keep thriving, I thought about a lot of women go through the same thing I go through, and we don't always focus on our wellness and recharge. And so I even actually, I have to thank Scott about this. For this, I created this whole wellness retreat for kind of women because we don't pour into ourselves like we need to, and we're always kind of waiting for somebody to do it for us. Some of these lucky women are out here living a soft life, but for the majority of us, we are grinding, working, hustling. And so we need sometimes someone to pour back into us and even to invest in ourselves. And so that's what I've found, that we have to sometimes do it for ourselves.
Indeed. So this season, there's new faces in the circle, Angel and Brandy. What were your first impressions of them? And did you have any advice as far as being newbies coming into this particular group?
So first impressions, fabulous, love, gorgeous, like showed up, like put together, like I love it. As moms, we sometimes can lead with the mom and put the fabulous to the back. And it's exactly the opposite. Both of them are entrepreneurs with super successful businesses, but they're also moms of lots of kids. And also just they just doing it. And what I told them, so my impression was that they're going to fit in just fine and they're not withering flowers and they have no problem giving their opinion and they have their own very unique and different personalities and they all can stand on their own. Both of them stood on their own 2 feet with no problem. And even Dr. Mimi, you'll see more of her and you get to see more of her personality. So I felt like honestly what they all are is the missing link. And I think they just make Married to Medicine better. What I told them was, take each woman authentically is who they are, right? Who they are today. Don't hold somebody to who they used to be. And whatever your relationship with them, let it be that relationship. Don't kind of get caught up in the dynamic of, I'm friends with this person and that person because this person doesn't get along with that person. I'm not going to like that person. I think some people did make some of those mistakes. And you can see some bias happening with some of the friendships already. Like, oh, I already know that I'm not going to like her because my friend doesn't like her. But what I found is that, they have been able to, as the season evolved, they were able to kind of make their own way and be who they are and not just fall under like, because she doesn't like this person, I don't like her either. Have their own authentic relationships.
So fans love your authenticity and your transparency. So what was the most difficult truth that you had to sit with for this season?
Oh man. Um, Good Lord. Sometimes in this group, you'll be like, did I just catch a stray? Like, bitch, where did that come from? You know? And what I've had to kind of sit with is that even if you have the best intentions, people may not always believe that, is you don't have an underlying motive, right? Because I think in today's world, like we live in this space of suspicion. Like, what is your ulterior motive? Like, what do you want from me? And so I've had to learn to not just get mad because someone else is mad. If I'm really not mad at you, or if I really don't have a problem, I may have to do a little bit more of the work for us to move forward, right? And I may even have to work a little harder for you to kind of, to get through your bias because I see the value in you. So I'm able to put my ego to the side, I think a little bit more than some of the other ladies because there are a lot of egos here. But I also see the value of friendships and I see the value of collaboration. And I'll be honest, I do better with help from my friends, right? I want to be able to just send you a text message and be like, okay, what's the answer to this question? I don't want to have to figure it out by myself. And if I see you have already some successes and some things that you've accomplished and you've already kind of been through that journey, I would love to be able just to kind of, I say it again, cut to the front of the line and just, and just get it, as opposed to making it hard on myself and not, just living in ego. But that's what I think I've learned. I used to do that. I used to just you get smart with me, I'm getting right smart back with you. And now I'm almost 50 years old and I just don't really feel like doing that anymore. I feel like collaboration is key. And I need my friends. Life is harder alone. So,
Very true. So, if you had to give a medical diagnosis to this season, what would it be?
whoo, good Lord. I would say histrionic. And y'all may have to look that term up. It's just all over the place sometimes. It's just like, what in the heck is going on here? And I just think again, it's kind of the sign of the times. Like people are going through some things and their nerves are right on the edge, their sensitivities are right there. So you will see some overreactions sometimes, but you understand that as time progresses, you'll see more of their personal story and you'll understand. I think you'll get empathetic. But I do think the good thing about histrionic is entertaining. So stay tuned.